Enterprise technology leaders are increasingly facing a difficult question. Where should investment go? Leadership teams are feeling the extreme gravitational pull of two massive demands. On one side, there is the urgent need for ERP modernization. Decades of legacy technical debt have to be paid down to create a stable operational backbone. On the other side is the pressure to adopt artificial intelligence. Boards and executive committees want to deploy machine learning to radically accelerate decision speed and build entirely new enterprise capabilities. Both of these initiatives require massive, multi-million-dollar capital commitments. They consume thousands of hours of internal engineering bandwidth and demand intense organizational focus. Because capital and attention are finite, CIOs and finance leaders are facing a blunt, unavoidable question. Which initiative gets primary funding first? Do you rebuild the foundation, or do you chase the innovation? This is no longer a basic technology choice. Figuring out how to sequence these investments is the single most critical capital allocation and risk management decision your leadership team will make this year. The immediate instinct is to treat this as an ERP versus AI debate. That premise is a dangerous trap, and entertaining it will lead your organization down the wrong path. The fatal strategic error happens when leaders attempt to use AI as a magic shortcut. You cannot overlay intelligence to bypass operational immaturity. This animation illustrates the result: expensive chaos. When you deploy advanced AI on top of a fractured, disorganized data foundation, the structural integrity of the entire system fails. The flaws in the base guarantee the failure of the shiny new tools above it. But freezing all AI innovation until your legacy systems are perfectly modernized is an equally bad strategy. If you wait for a flawless foundation, market competitors will simply build past you, leaving you permanently behind. True strategic leadership means rejecting the extremes. You have to intelligently sequence these investments based on the actual maturity of your organization. Let's start by looking at the specific category of enterprise friction that ERP modernization is uniquely designed to eliminate. If your teams are wrestling with legacy fragmentation, relying heavily on manual workflows, pulling insights from disconnected data silos, your operational foundation is broken. ERP takes chaotic, disconnected data nodes and pulls into a highly structured environment, forcing standardization and strict governance. The end goal is a unified pipeline achieving complete operational integrity. It buys a highly scalable digital backbone. The trade-off is brutal. Getting to that level of integrity requires massive capital expenditure, causes deep internal friction as teams change how they work, and delivers an exceptionally slow time to value. But unless you are willing to pay that toll, scaling any future capability, especially artificial intelligence, becomes exponentially more difficult and highly risky. Now, consider the immediate risks of rushing to deploy enterprise AI before you have established that operational integrity. The mechanics of the trap are simple. You take fragmented, manually entered, highly inconsistent legacy data, and you feed it directly into a predictive AI model. The AI system processes bad information and executes flawed workflows at unmanageable speeds. It will simply amplify the disorder. You aren't fixing the problem, you are just making mistakes much faster. This accelerated chaos generates severe compliance risks and intense organizational friction, as departments are suddenly forced to manually clean up AI-generated errors. Ultimately, a premature deployment destroys the value of the high initial technology expenditure, leaving you with a negative return on investment. AI can accelerate your operational intelligence, but it absolutely cannot replace operational discipline. Fortunately, there is a nuanced middle ground. You do not need a flawless, modernized central ERP vault to begin generating AI value on the edges. You can implement what we call bounded context AI. These scenarios are safe to deploy on imperfect foundations because they avoid deep systemic data integration. Examples include service desk copilots, workflow summarization tools for sales, or localized knowledge assistants for support. These initiatives succeed because they automate discrete tasks and accelerate specific human decisions. They operate completely independently of the unified enterprise data core. The trade-off with this pragmatic approach is that it yields fast, measurable ROI to satisfy immediate board pressure, but it leaves your core systemic enterprise operations completely untransformed. Bounded AI buys time. It generates executive goodwill and quick wins, while the heavier, mandatory foundational ERP work is meticulously planned in the background. Stop framing this as ERP or AI in your leadership meetings. Abandon that debate entirely. Instead, use a structured decision framework based on 3 specific diagnostic questions to evaluate your capital allocation. This flowchart starts with question 1. Where is current business friction greatest? Question 2. Is that constraint an operational foundation problem, like bad data, or a decision capability problem, like lack of speed? And question 3. What creates measurable value fastest with acceptable risk? This 3-question framework forces a shift. It reframes a generic technology debate into a mature organizational readiness assessment. If you are a legacy-burdened organization suffering from poor process standardization and high manual dependency, the math is clear. The majority of your investment must go to ERP first. If your core processes are reasonably stable and you act as a pragmatic optimizer, let the budget flow into bounded AI for rapid value, while you carefully plot incremental ERP upgrades. These paths lead to distinct outcomes. ERP creates operational integrity. AI creates operational intelligence. You will eventually need both. A strong CIO does not chase market hype. They sequence multi-million-dollar transformations based strictly on organizational maturity. Making the right capital allocation is only the first step. Once you've mapped your path, you have to select the platforms to execute it. In the next episode, I'll break down exactly how CIOs should evaluate specific enterprise tools without getting trapped by aggressive vendor hype. Subscribe to the channel to continue building your enterprise technology leadership toolkit. I'll see you in the next one.